Welcome back. Oh, I almost said Inebri-art. No, sorry.
Okay.
Welcome back to the Old Colony Cast, a podcast about all things Plymouth and surrounding areas. It may sound a little different this time. We are recording remotely. Our lovely co-host Hannah is getting over the COVID.
Yeah.
Glad you're feeling better.
Me too. You said it.
Yeah. And of course, Fish is here.
Yellow.
And yeah, so we'll just, I don't think we have anything, we don't have any recaps that we need to talk about, right? Nothing.
I don't even remember
Honestly,
the last thing.
We did like Cold Friday and this is the Happy New Year, guys. This is the first recording of
That's right.
2022. And this is our Hannaversary. This is 2 years of Hannah co-hosting the show.
Yeah,
I know. And if you'll recall, we only got 2 episodes in before we started doing Zoom calls for like the first.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah. Yeah, we had like, what was it, 1 recording or 2?
Well, we recorded the welcoming Hannah and then whatever the first
whatever the Plymouth Rock and
Plymouth Rock
in Burial Hill.
in Burial Hill, yeah.
Burial Hill, right.
Yeah.
And then that was it.
Where we met Hannah, found out that she lies
Yeah.
so much.
And then it was strictly
then
Zoom for a little bit.
And then we just stopped seeing each other for a year.
Yeah.
So this is a little retro then. So
yeah.
Hopefully the next one will be in person. Hopefully, knock on wood.
Yes.
And so, well, I mean, what do I say? I don't want to say congratulations because I'll be like, hey, you're lucky you get to hang out with us for 2 years. But
you're right, Hannah. We're sorry.
Yeah, no, it's been a fun 2 years.
And thank you for carrying the show, Hannah.
You're welcome.
Yeah. Clearly the fan favorite.
Thanks, guys.
You are my mother's favorite host, and I am on the show.
Yeah. Thanks, Rosemary.
Worst part is I'm second.
I know. When I look back at all the stuff, like we've talked about a lot of things.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean?
Does it feel like it's been 2 years?
I don't know. It's one of those like I don't know if you guys saw the Harry Potter read.
No, I didn't.
I mean whatever. But it's if you like Harry Potter, you're gonna like it. They kept saying it's like all the time has passed, but no time at all. But I'm not joking. It's like, did someone write that and ask them to read it like 8 bajillion times because they all said it? It was so weird. Anyway, but that's pretty much how I feel. So I kind of get what they're talking about.
Like
I know.
Like I look back and I almost don't remember what it was like recording the show before because it was not particularly great. The show took some time to figure out what it was. But we're not here to talk about Hannah. Sorry,
That's
fans.
actually my topic for today. I thought we were.
What are we talking about today?
So I brought up a couple things to you, and you were just like, "Yeah, any of that." And
well,
said,
you were
okay.
like, "I'm dying," and you guys want to record, and I'm like, "Whatever you want, like research whatever you want." I felt so bad that
I know I
was gonna be like, "I don't like that one."
I was in a tough spot, so I honestly went with the one that I had personally read up on most recently because I figured that would just be where my head and my heart was able to expel the information to you a little bit better. So I feel like if I went with something that was like fresh to me, I don't know how much I could have retained, honestly. So we're going to talk about Camp Myles Standish.
Okay.
In Taunton. You guys know anything about it?
I know a little bit about it because you kind of like looped me in a little bit.
I told you.
Okay, yeah. I know literally nothing.
Well, awesome. Okay,
cool. I do know it's named after Myles Standish.
Like when you said Camp Myles Standish,
inventor of the mile.
I honestly did not expect the next word to be in Taunton. I assumed it would be, in the Myles Standish State Forest where you put things named Myles Standish.
Yeah, he's everywhere.
Camps.
Big name
you put camps there.
Yeah, it's not the camp you like think. First, before I get going on this,
is this just named after Myles Standish, or is there a reason like why?
No, it's just named after him, pretty much.
Because now I'm realizing I don't really know who Miles Standish is. So
He was like the first military head of the Plymouth colony.
Okay, all right.
He had a more official name, but I'm like, there wasn't like an army, so he wasn't like you know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was a one-man army.
Yeah. No. He had a
Okay,
crew.
Pilgrim's version
He
of
was
Batman.
OMAC.
Got it.
Andy, he was OMAC, okay?
OMAC.
Does that help?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's a deep cut.
So it wasn't really a camp per se, but it was a camp. Anyway, before I get into that, I need to give credit where credit's due. WGBH did a really cool article on this where I was reading it, but they also put in like voice recordings of the interview that happened.
Mm-hmm.
So you got like a little bit, I was like, ooh, this is fun and interactive. And then they interviewed William Hanna, the president of the Old Colony Museum, who talked about this. So a lot of this information I got from William Hanna's like direct quotes from the article they did.
Okay.
And so on June 1942, Taunton received communication from the War Department of the United States that they would be taking 1,500 acres of land and seizing it by eminent domain for use of the military. Now they said it was like 33 farms, so they alerted the town of they alerted the town of Taunton, but I was like, they really just told like the people who own the property. Like I don't think it was owned by Taunton.
It's kind of one of those like we're gonna do it, and we're giving the town the crappy job of having to tell the people they're losing their farms.
Yeah, I guess so. Yeah. And the amount of acreage kind of varied because it starts off with the 1,500, but there's also another version that says it was 1,620 acres, which is 1620, which leans into why they might have given it the Myles Standish name.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So there was another, I think the Wikipedia page for it says there was 1,400 acres at the beginning. So anywhere from 14 to 16.
1620.
1620. Yeah. There you go. Anywhere from that amount to that amount. And I don't know if maybe it started off with 1,400 and then got bigger. Who knows? Either way.
Probably started off with 1,400 and they're like, let's call it Myles Standish. And they're like, ooh, I got a good idea.
Tack on a few more and we got it. So yeah, it gave inspiration to his name. Other sources say that it just was called Myles Standish because he was like a military guy and it was going close to, where Plymouth is, and we're still relatively close to Taunton. Yeah. So it was designed by J.F. Worcester Company and built by the Matthew Cummings Company of Boston. There were 30 miles of paved road and 1,600 buildings there, and it opened October 8th, 1942. Now, it was supposed to be used partially as like a staging area for soldiers who were going to be sent overseas, like people who were drafted and just had to go there for like right before they got sent off from Boston or Rhode Island or whatever. So they went there, got their final like physicals done, random like weapons checks, just orientations in general. And from there, they would go to port and get sent wherever the hell they were going. Yeah. So this is going on during World War II. And all the soldiers that went there got like a day pass to go hang out in town. Yeah. So, which I know that happens, but like, we don't have anything like that around here.
No.
Now, you know what I mean? So I'm like, I don't have the experience of like, oh yeah, all the soldiers go into town on Saturday. You know what I mean? Like, I'm sure it happens, and I know it happens. It's just not something I know about too well. Yeah. So they'd get a day pass, and it was very. They were infamous, right, with causing kind of a little bit of a stir or trouble before they left, because there's like a lot of drunk and disorderly
Oh, sure, and they're going off to
Yeah, and then
possibly meet their end. So
right, and they didn't care because they're like, whatever, we're not from here, and we're leaving in 3 days. And so anything that ever came of it, like nothing came of it.
yeah,
They're just like, what are you gonna do? These guys were like fighting for your freedom, so screw
suck it
'em.
up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah,
But yeah, they'd get a day to like go and have fun around town. And there were obviously like other fraternizing things happening with people in the town, but for the most
It's a
part,
great way to
everyone
put it.
yeah, you know, you meet a nice girl before you leave. I don't know.
you gotta have a picture, of somebody while you're overseas, that kind of thing.
Yeah. So over 1 million GIs would go through that camp. So it was like very heavily trafficked. Not one of like, I don't know how those stations kind of go, but like if a lot of people floating through there, they used it a lot. I could only imagine like how many military vehicles were like driving around Taunton at that time. Right?
Oh yeah. I mean,
because if they'd have to get them to Boston. They said most of them shipped from Boston, so like they'd bring them to Boston. They weren't like taking airplanes from Taunton to Boston.
Right.
I'm not saying they were like using them driving around town. I'm just saying like 1 million people, and there was like they only spent 1 week there. So it's like okay, once these guys come in, the next guys are coming or whatever.
It was probably like how like you're out driving somewhere and it's either just before school starts or just after school gets over, and there's like school buses everywhere. It had to be like that, where there was like one day where you just saw nothing but like army buses.
All army buses. Yeah. This is honestly nothing to do with what we're talking about, but I have to share this memory because school buses and army guys. My old bus route in Plymouth would sneak down by like the town brook and you know how they redid all of it over there and like natured it. I forget the word but my bus would drive right along that road, Billington Sea Road. And before it is what it is now, they had the National Guard there in biohazard suits, like when I was in middle school, in this whole area cleaning up the soil. So there were like army trucks and guys in biohazard suits there every day for like 4 months.
Wow.
Isn't that crazy?
Yeah.
I know. I'll have to bring you guys to it because it used to be like just you couldn't tell what was over there, but you're like, there's no grass growing.
Yeah.
Like something wasn't right. Either way.
And there's just dead birds in the field.
Yeah, while it operated as a staging area, right back into what I was talking about. It was also used as a POW camp for prisoners of war held in the U.S.
Okay.
So we held German and Italian soldiers there. So Italy signed an armistice in 1943. So we were no longer fighting Italy, but there was like a hitch with that because their POWs were like already in the US.
Okay.
So we had Italian soldiers at the camp. Whoever's running it, I'm like, I was there. I remember it so vividly. They had Italian soldiers at the camp, but they were not really prisoners. But they were. So they were labeled as co-belligerents. So they were just allowed to
co-belligerent?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
So like an ally, technically. I mean, kind of.
I think it's the other way. It's like you guys were not at war with the country, but you were kind of fighting with the Nazis. So
right.
Sorry, you guys can't go home yet.
Yeah, I mean, they couldn't go home, but they were treated like U.S. soldiers there. So they were still under like military discipline.
Were they given day passes?
And they gave them day passes.
Oh, okay.
So like they were allowed to go out for the day or however long their passes were for. There were a decent amount of Italian soldiers there, and they would become like friendly with the people who lived in the area, and Italian American families that were already living there would like take them in not take
Oh,
them in,
sure.
but like,
Yeah.
oh yeah, come have dinner like this night. Like they'd host them for dinner. They'd
Right.
attend church with them, and so naturally you could tell like that relationships built with either friend or just becoming like another family to them, and then obviously romantic relationships between the POWs and people who lived in the area. So
Hannah, they were co-belligerents, not POWs.
sorry, true. Weren't allowed to go home though, right?
Yeah.
So,
We're not holding you against your will. You just can't go anywhere.
yeah. So, and like they were still under strict military guidance when they were on camp. So it's not like they got to like sleep in and hang out. Like they had to still do all the stuff they would in like a boot camp, kind of. You know what I mean? I'm sure they worked and kind of paid, quote unquote, paid their way while they were there. And then, so after the camp closed for the Italian POWs or co-belligerents, some of them didn't leave the U.S. Some of them stayed because they started seeing someone and set up a family and settled down. And some of those families still exist from those Italian POWs living there today. So
that's cool.
I know. I wonder if any of them are still around.
I don't know.
I mean, it's not that far back. I mean, my grandparents fought in World War II, so
yeah,
I know.
Yeah, so I mean,
I'm just saying my grandparents are dead. So
oh yes, I mean, no, mine are too. But at the same time, it's not like.
So I wonder if they're still around.
Like,
you mean like actually? I get what you're saying.
They might not still be there, but I mean, their kids, their grandkids. Yeah, no, it's not like they're.
I'm talking specifically about someone who lived there. I wonder if they're still around. My question is not changing.
Okay, fine.
So what are you saying?
I'm not backing down. I know that no, there are families still remaining from the people who were brought into that camp before, the Italian ones at least. So the German soldiers did not have the same treatment because there was never an agreement brought on with them, between the US and Germany during that war. So we are lucky enough that one of the former POWs came back to Massachusetts to visit. I don't think specifically for this reason, but he had reached out to the manager of this, the Old Colony Museum, when he did come back in the 90s and got to talk and open up a little bit about it. So a lot of the stuff I found out is from like his perspective of it. So no, they did not have the luxuries of the Italian soldiers, and there were just about 3,000 of the Germans were kept there the whole time. They had black uniforms, black shirt, black top with a white P painted on the back for prisoner. So creative.
I was gonna say, you don't spell belligerent with a P. Can't fool me.
Well, that was the Italians anyway.
Yeah.
There you go.
Making a joke.
And he was asked, he asked, it doesn't say who he was, so I wish I knew, but he asked the old POW, who, if they ever thought about escaping. And he said, no, no, never. They had no idea where they were.
Oh,
you know what I mean?
So they would just be like, if we got out, we wouldn't know.
Yeah, they had no idea they were just only a, I don't know, short drive from Boston. So they didn't know if they escaped, where they could go to actually get out of the US. They didn't know where they were in the US. They didn't know how close they were to anything.
Yeah.
So they literally had no idea where they were. So no, they didn't think about escaping because all they knew was what was on that camp. Very. And the US military tried to take really intentional care of their POWs because they were very concerned about our own POWs kept in Germany and other countries. So they didn't want to ever say that we were the ones not taking care of their prisoners. So they took decent care of them. It wasn't like a hotel stay or anything like that, but they were not.
They're still prisoners, but
yes, exactly. So they all around were kept, an okay standard. It was nice enough. And this caused some kind of tension in town because the locals are sending like their sons and their husbands off to war to live in like really terrible conditions.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, these POWs from the outside world are living in like pretty okay conditions.
Right.
And they were pretty okay conditions. They were definitely prisoners, but
Yeah.
you know what I mean? So that was just one of those things they had to kind of work around while keeping people there it was open for about 3 years too. So it's like that was just a way of life. Like they were there. They were hanging in for a while. They had to do like physical labor. It doesn't really say what, but I'm sure because it was like a stationary point for people to go, like I'm sure they just helped with the physical operations of what that meant.
Mhm.
I don't know if they used them to provide anything else war related, right? Like they could have been manufacturing things. It doesn't really say. But
I mean,
typically
I'm not like a military expert, but I feel like an enemy combatant that you have manufacture stuff for your war effort isn't really a great idea.
Oh, I have no idea either. Yeah. Yeah, but maybe.
Yeah, it's possible, but I just feel like it's one of those where, like, if anyone's going to do a crappy job, it's going to be the guy that
it's going to be these guys.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying they're like assembling tanks. I don't know.
Yeah.
They could just be sewing stuff. Like, I don't know.
They're sewing tanks.
I mean, I just thought maybe they were doing like supply related stuff, like not anything to do with stuff that would be life changing.
I gotcha.
I have no idea. They could not be. It could have been a for-profit thing. Who knows? They could have been in there stamping out license plates. Do people still do that anymore?
Anymore? I don't. There's probably all machines now.
You think? Okay.
Yeah. Probably.
I mean, like, yeah, I get no idea.
Like from Looney Tunes? You remember that? Yeah. Okay. Anyway, so I don't know the ins and outs of like their daily work, but they were fed pretty well, and they pretty much lived almost like a soldier in that sense, where it was just strict military time frames of stuff, and you get fed when you're fed, and it was probably stuff they weren't all that not used to coming from another form of military, like in a different country, right?
Yeah.
And not that they were treated well, but there was one guard that they said was telling people that they were never going home. And like, okay, well, if one guard was doing it, like, what are the chances that like, I'm sure there was some emotional bullying happening.
Yeah,
That's just human nature, right?
Sure,
so like, there's not like reporting of it, but I'm like, if one guy did it,
yeah,
you know what I mean? But otherwise, all things were pretty in order there. On closing in on the end of the war, I don't know who did it, maybe like the guards or people who worked there, but they put up huge pictures of what the concentration camps looked like in Germany in the mess hall for like the German soldiers to see.
That's weird.
As like a look at what you guys did kind of thing.
Yeah.
And then they also made them go through US history and civics classes. Which I thought was interesting. And then I also thought maybe they saw some of Dr. Seuss's stuff.
Oh, very possibly. Yeah, that's right.
Right?
Yeah.
Because he did a bunch of
anti-Nazi, anti-Japan artwork and cartoons and stuff.
Right.
Yeah.
Dr. Seuss. Sorry.
Seuss. Yeah.
Seuss. So yeah, they showed him those pictures probably as a dig or as like a, hey, this is what you guys are doing over there, your pieces of crap kind of thing. Anyway, in 1946, after the war was over and the POWs, it was just disbanded. It was like, okay, you guys are going back. We likely got back whoever was in that deal, right? And then the land was sold back to the state of Massachusetts for $1.
Oh,
which
okay.
That's like Louisiana Purchase level. That's huge. That's like
but is it like one of those? Is that like one of those technicalities where like for whatever reason they couldn't gift it back to them or something?
Yeah. It was like a good a gesture of goodwill or something like that, because they had taken it before. And the state ended up using that to make the Myles Standish School for the mentally retarded, which then became the Paul A. Dever School. And then the other part of the land was made to construct the industrial park that's there today. And I think the Old Colony Museum has a little bit of like about all this there, but it was a really cool article. I've never heard of this before, so I wanted to talk about it. There's not a lot of people that have heard about it, I guess. Also, the name of the article, which is a little misleading,
is
kind of, is Ghosts. It's your interpretation, I guess. Ghosts of World War II POWs haunt Taunton Industrial Park.
Oh, so that's why you read it.
No, someone shared it with me. They were like, isn't this cool? But then like I stopped to read the name of the article. I was like, they didn't talk about ghosts at all. I think they just mean like the memories of it. You know what I mean? Because no one brought up any ghosts. No, I haven't heard of any ghost sightings, at least not from that. Which, real quick, I don't know if you guys know about the Paul Dever School.
No. That was going to be my next question. Is what is
yes.
Yes, it is.
I mean, not like super well, but I know of it.
It's one of the like urban exploration sites of Massachusetts. You know what I mean? It's this huge land area, a bunch of buildings closed down. Some of it's still open, but I think it's like pretty much done now.
I think it's pretty much been gone for the last 5 years.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago though, and like that was like the place people would drive to like go break into and walk around in because it's scary and spooky and
it's where you went ghost hunting when you were dumb and young.
So I didn't realize that was on the same property as the POW camp, but when you look up Paul A. Dever School, it says like right above it, like it's just like, oh, site of POW camp. I'm like, oh, it's no one was hiding it. That school was named after the governor of Massachusetts. Yeah, he was the governor of Massachusetts the one time that got it built. But if you guys ever have heard of people refer to this, no one says Paul A. Dever.
No, they just call it Dever.
No, they call it Paul Devers.
Really?
Yes.
Okay, because when people were talking about it around me, it was just always.
I hung out with kids like from the Bridgewater Raynham area, and like
Hannah, I was a kid from the Bridgewater Raynham area.
A younger class, though, and Paul Devers, or I guess Devers, right? But like everyone skips out the A, or it became like so fluid in the name. Because I remember having a friend that was like Paula Devers. Like I was like, what is the name of the place you guys are trying to say? Because I have no idea.
Who's Paula? Yeah.
And there's a YouTube video of people there's tunnels that go like below some of the buildings in between.
Yeah.
And there's kids down there and they're like on the phone and it's the thickest like New England Boston accent. He's like, I'm at Paul Devers. Like, I don't know. I loved it.
I'm drinking donkeys here at Paul Devers.
It was, yeah, exactly. And I just loved it. But anyway, I think we'd be remiss to say that I'm sure the Italian American influence was very much impacted by that POW camp happening. Like, I don't know if the concentration of Italian Americans would be like as strong from that, because it sounds like a decent amount of them stuck around after.
Yeah, I kind of want to know, like,
yeah, but it's kind of a chicken or the egg thing. Did a bunch of Italian soldiers stick around and become the community, or did they stick around because the community was already there for them to kind of like
it was
fold
there.
Into? It
was there, but I don't know. Maybe it gave it a little bit of a boost in I don't know, Italian origin. I have no idea. But That's pretty much it for the POW camp.
That's when you sent me the text message like last week and you're like, did you know there was a POW camp? And I'm like, what are you talking about? Like I had never even heard of such a thing.
And it's such a massive area too. Like I was like, oh, that's shocking that it's not still there. And then once I found out that it became that school, I was like, oh, yeah, that makes way more sense because that's like
an industrial park.
Yeah, and my grandfather lives right around the corner from there. Yeah, in Taunton. Taunton, yes. But I am also kind of shocked in a way. I don't know. It's part of the triangle, right?
Yeah.
So obviously, when I saw the title of the article, I was like, "Oh my god!"
You were hoping for real ghosts. It's fine.
Yeah. I don't know, but no, there could be real ghosts there.
There could be.
I'm sure not. I'd love to see like the records. I'm like, because it doesn't sound like anything too strenuous happened where people would have necessarily lost their lives there. But hey, like people get sick and
right. I mean, you're talking 3 years wartime. Doesn't necessarily mean all those prisoners were like in tip-top condition when they showed up. They were in war.
It does not rule out the possibility of ghosts.
No, Hannah, that doesn't rule out the possibility of ghosts. Ghosts not being real rules out the possibility of there being ghosts.
I'm just saying. No. But I haven't gone looking for it myself. I'd be curious to see if there was any sort of like plaque. Nothing was mentioned, but I feel like usually maybe it's all in the name. Maybe because of Myles Standish Industrial Park, they're like, that's enough.
Yeah.
But sometimes when you drive by something like that so frequently and then you like read the fine print under it, like it's almost always right in front of you.
Yeah. I mean, there's tons of plaques that you walk by all the time. I know there's one like right up the street here on like the side of a building. I can tell you what it says. I never stop and look at it, but I know it's there.
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So it's like, I don't know. So. That's pretty much all I got though.
All right. Well, this is the part where we stop talking.
And thanks for checking out the show today, listeners. If you enjoyed the content today, you can go over to patreon.com/Inebri-art to support the show. You can join over there for just a few dollars a month and help us provide this fun content that you just checked out. You can also email us at Inebri-art.com with your questions, complaints, and concerns, or you can find us on all social medias at Inebri-art or at Inebri-art6 on Instagram. And also don't forget to check out our other shows, Bar Talk Podcast, Old Colony Cast, Inebri-art, and all the other shows on the Inebri-art Network, which you can find at Inebri-art.com. So thanks again for listening.